And there it is. Hello, everybody, and welcome into TK Live. Here, Dad and I are back in the studio tonight, and we're going to talk some pickup trucks. Matthew, my brother, couldn't join us tonight, but Dad's filling in.
Yeah, apparently. Well, we'll see if I'm any smarter than my kid.
So yeah, hey, TK Live, what do we like to do here? We like to get down in the studio and talk about all things pickup trucks. We like to cover everything that's going on in the news, because there's always something happening. We like to talk about what's going on the channel, what we've been up to, what we have coming up. And then the most important thing is we want to answer your questions. So I already see some questions down there in the chat. We appreciate you dropping them in there. We have some email questions we're going to answer tonight. I saw a question over on the community page that we'll get to. So as you listen to us talk and cover the news, drop your questions in there. I already see some, and I see greetings from Chicago and what's up. So hey Jerome, hey Uniglez, hey Steve and Dad, hey Mac. We appreciate you guys joining us.
Yep, very nice, you guys.
So let's start off with the news. So just this past week, Dad and I, hopefully you saw it on the channel, we got the chance to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, to go to the Toyota Land Cruiser Heritage Museum, where they revealed the brand new 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. Again, hopefully you saw it on the channel. Before we get to Land Cruiser, Dad, let's just talk about the museum real quick. Incredible museum in Salt Lake City. I think they said they have almost every model and variation of Land Cruiser, save for, I think, 2.
Something like that, 2 or 3, yeah, like ever built.
And they're from around the world. Every Land Cruiser in there's got a unique story that they tell. So I guess I'm just saying, if you ever get the chance to visit Salt Lake City and you love Toyotas and Land Cruisers, it's totally worth your time, right?
So the weird thing is when we went down there, I'm like, okay, so what's the relationship between Salt Lake City and Land Cruiser? And that's the first thing to know, is there isn't any. It's just that there was a really, really, really rich guy who liked Land Cruisers and bought so many of them that eventually somebody went, hey, make a museum. So that's why it's there.
Yeah.
However, that was a great place to reveal the newest one.
Yep.
Because you're surrounded by like all these vehicles from, the last, 50, 60 years? 70 years. Yeah, that's right.
1950 was the first one for military.
I keep forgetting. Yeah. Well, the first one that came to North America was 1958.
Yeah, sold to consumers.
Yeah, which sticks in my head because I also am a 1958 model.
Yeah.
So, when I showed up, so did Land Cruiser. Now, in the meantime, it's been gone from the States for 9 years?
No, from the States only since 2019, only for a couple of years.
Oh, okay, yeah, but in Canada it's been gone for like 28 years.
Exactly, yeah, over 30 actually. Once again, it was 1987, I think it left Canada.
Yeah, so the weird thing is I keep thinking back to like when I was growing up, you'd see Land Rovers particularly like Series 1, Series 2, more often, way more often than you'd ever see a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
That was like just the odd thing. It was just never really a big seller here. Doesn't mean that frankly it won't do well, because the one thing Land Cruiser had is it brings this reputation really from around the world. It's what the rest of the world has done with Land Cruiser, which people are now looking at and saying, well, maybe that would be cool to own.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right that like South Africa, all those places, they love their Land Cruisers. That's where you picture them. And I should say too, when Land Cruiser just left the U.S. market, it was a $90,000 plus luxury SUV. So it had all the off-road gear, but it was marketed entirely differently. And now finally here, we'll show you guys. Here is the 2024 Land Cruiser. So it's much smaller than the Land Cruiser that left North America. Also much less expensive. Toyota already told us that in the States, this thing is going to start at $55,000. So again, they've totally changed sort of the marketing on Land Cruiser as compared to the model that just left us. So one of the big debates is whether you should get the round headlights or the square headlights. The model you're looking at right here is the base 1958 model with the round headlights.
Yeah.
I love the round headlights personally. I'll show you the squares one more time. Totally different look, but yeah, I think those round headlights are super cool on the 1958 model. And then finally, here's the first edition. So they're only going to make 5,000 of these. Of course, the first 5,000 people will be able to get this model. It's full of all kinds of equipment. So yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I think that they were smart to not try to make it, a luxury SUV like it used to be. And one other thing I'm going to throw up here, just quickly, if you guys want to check out all the numbers, here's all the specs on the Land Cruiser. And this is one area where I will admit I think it's letting us down a little bit. Overall ground clearance here, Dad, is only 8.3 inches listed running ground clearance.
That's not huge.
That's not much. Approach angle just over 30 degrees. That's decent. And then departure angle of just 22 degrees, which again, frankly, the numbers are not that strong. So I'm curious to get it out there off-road. It does have a lot of great features. You are getting a rear locking differential. You're also getting Toyota's crawl control system, the multi-terrain select.
Terrain modes.
It's a full-time four-wheel drive setup. Front disconnectable sway bar. So the off-road gear is all there. I think the clearance I was a little disappointed in. And then the powertrain. The powertrain, we're only getting the hybrid. It's going to be that 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with the hybrid engine. And for North America, that's our only choice. Sure, I wish we had some other choices. On the flip side, the numbers are strong, over 300 horsepower. I think that'll probably work out okay.
You see, what I'm seeing is Toyota trying to reinsert Land Cruiser into the lineup, but in a very different place.
Totally.
They want this to be more of a mainstream vehicle, hence the reason that the price is coming down significantly from what the old one was.
Yeah.
And the people that I talked to in Salt Lake, I said, so who are you going up against? And they said things like Jeep and Bronco. And I'm like, no, not Wrangler and Bronco, because I keep looking at this. I'm like, no, Grand Cherokee and maybe Explorer makes more sense, because that's the other thing, is that those are, they're big volume models. And quite honestly, that's where Toyota would like to see Land Cruiser go. They don't want to just sell, 50 a year.
Sure.
Right?
I think they peg those models, Wrangler and Bronco, because they want that adventure crowd, and they want you to think of it as a get off road and go adventure kind of vehicle.
I don't see it as being in quite the same setup. I mean, would you put a Wrangler up against that?
Oh yeah, the numbers don't add up.
No.
The Land Cruiser doesn't have those off-road numbers to match.
No.
But you're right, it is totally different, and this leads to a question. I've already seen it in the chat at least once from Mac. Mac, it is the question that I have been asking constantly. What happens to the 4Runner? Because this just looks like a new 4Runner. The other thing Toyota is doing is consolidating all of their body-on-frame vehicles to the same platform, TNGAF. So 4Runner, Land Cruiser, Tundra, Tacoma, Sequoia, Lexus, the LX or LC, LX, the big SUVs, they're all TNGAF, and GX, Lexus GX. So what that means is that they're also they're standardizing the powertrains. So
Sure.
so when 4Runner comes, it's probably going to have the same engine. So how do you differentiate? And the only answer I've got is price.
You know what? If it comes.
Maybe.
Because there's no doubt, I mean, 4Runner's still on the old frame. Okay? If it's going to be reworked, it will go to this common frame. And being that they're both going to be fighting for the same buyer,
Yeah.
it's very possible that this is now when they're, Toyota's saying, you know what, tooling's old, it's paid for, we've had a good run, throw all our money behind Land Cruiser.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they got rid of 4Runner because of how popular it is, and that's the only thing where, they'd be throwing out the name. But this does give them an opportunity to fully rethink it. Maybe go, again, even further down market, started at $35,000, or then the inevitable, maybe they'll go electric. Maybe this will be the time they jump in.
I don't know. Or what I'd actually like to see is 4Runner's fine the way it is, as far as I'm concerned. So do what Ram has been doing. Start calling it a classic, and don't change it. Don't change it. Let it get cheaper, okay? Because everything's been paid for. So let it get cheaper and sell it under Land Cruiser.
It's not a crazy idea. I don't think it'll happen, again, because they're changing it all to that new frame, but Ram has proven that point. And the 4Runner also proves the point. They already haven't updated it for 12 years or something ridiculous.
Sure.
And it still sells. It sells every year.
Exactly. They can still keep cranking them out.
Yeah. And there's always going to be a buyer, myself included, I'll admit. I think the V6 has a bit of an allure. There's always going to be that. I want the 4-liter V6. Reliability, that thing is bulletproof.
Yeah.
So that might work too.
Fuel economy sucks. However, that's the trade-off.
Hopefully Toyota's listening, because I think that's a smart idea.
Listen, I said, it's worked for Ram. They've made millions by keeping that classic.
Yeah, they're crowding their SUV lineup, man. Like when Sequoia came out and the third row got even worse, I was like, well, this doesn't make much sense. And then Grand Highlander comes out, and that thing has a third row almost as big as Sequoia. Now, granted, Sequoia will tow more, be slightly better off-road. And someone else asked the question, and I'll let me just scroll up so I can call you out. Somebody asked about the third row in the Land Cruiser. Sorry, I can't see your name now. But the third row is in the Land Cruiser in other markets, but it's not coming here to North America.
Yeah.
Which also makes sense, because if they had a third row in the Land Cruiser, then once again, where does Grand Highlander fit in?
Yeah,
Highlander, and then where does Sequoia fit? So,
Highlander ends up being like an orphan.
Yeah, they're jamming their SUV market or their SUV portfolio full, and I guess all we can do is wait and see if it works.
It makes me laugh, because when we're in Salt Lake City, I tumbled the second row, and I'm like, why does this tumble rather than just fold flat? Because there is no third row.
Yeah.
And then I went and asked, and they said, well, there is a third row, but only in overseas markets.
Yeah, there was also cup holders in the back.
And then I said, so in other words, a third row that doesn't fit North American body sizes.
Also true.
But it works elsewhere in the world where people are not so well fed.
Plus, elsewhere in the world, they're getting a diesel we're not getting, and our hybrid, the battery lives out back, so that also messes with the third row.
Yeah.
Sorry, one other photo I forgot to throw up. This is just the interior. Nice looking interior. It's got the new Toyota infotainment system, big screen, of course. One change is they've actually taken all the off-road controls from up here in the roof. They used to all be above you, and they've put them down kind of in the center stack. But, nice looking vehicle, luxurious. And again, we're going to have to wait and see the price point across the lineup. But when I sat in it too, people commented that I looked big in there, and I tend to look big in a lot of vehicles. But I look
big in everything.
I felt okay in the Land Cruiser.
The second row was decent.
Yeah, I didn't feel it was that small at all.
And to be honest, it's just, I was shooting, and I remember thinking as I was shooting that, if I'd had more time, I would have shot from a different angle from the front seat back, because from there it did look like Steve had been shoehorned in.
Yeah, that does tend to happen. All right, so that's Land Cruiser. It's exciting. We're certainly excited to have a new off-roader. Someone else just also mentioned in the comments, Uniglez says maybe the 4Runner will finally get the removable top. So if they really want to fight Wrangler and Bronco, that's what you have to do, right? Bronco, they realize when we come back, we're fighting Wrangler. The roof's got to come off, doors got to come off.
I don't see it. Toyota's just not that kind of company.
Yeah, they're very safety-focused.
They're very, very conservative. They just don't spend that kind of money quickly. Even though, you know what, that would probably be a good idea. However, I don't see it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so yeah, if you guys got more questions about Land Cruiser, keep dropping them in the comments. But we will move on now to our second story. And it's a story that has felt inevitable for like 2 years now, maybe longer. And it is the fact that the Nissan Titan is now officially dead. Nissan has confirmed that 2024 will be the final model year. And when it goes out of production, they're going to bring in new EV production at the plant where it's built in Mississippi. So that's, again, no surprise.
Yeah, but not EV truck production.
Not EV truck production.
Just some kind of EV
Correct,
production.
just an electric vehicle, probably electric
So
car.
you're going to get more Leafs.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the 2024 Nissan Titan. No big changes. They changed the trim walk. They got rid of the base trim. They added more. So the base price is actually up on the Titan for the final year. But that's pretty typical too, right? They get rid of the stuff that's not selling, frankly. And the lower trims, just aren't moving for the Titan.
Now, just to state what most people already know, it's been gone in Canada now for 2 years?
2 years. I think 2022 was the final year in
So
Canada.
when we say that it's dead, we mean it's dead in the States.
Correct.
And just, that's it. It was on life support. We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know, and therein, like I could talk for an hour as to why it happened, because honestly, I like the Titan.
Yeah.
I thought it was a decent truck, and I thought they spent a lot of money, when they went from the 3/4 Titan to a full-size Titan, and they really spent a lot of money trying to build a decent truck, right?
Yeah.
Including the Titan XD.
XD.
Yeah, right, which was kind of a neat idea, somewhere in between half-ton and 3/4 ton. They got the small Cummins diesel into it, which quite honestly didn't work out that well.
Yeah, sadly, the legacy of that truck, I think, was wrecked by that engine. It just wasn't as good as we all wanted it to be. It had fuel economy problems, reliability problems. Because the XD is still for sale, and I'll totally admit, I didn't even know that. When I saw the release today, I was like, oh, the XD actually still exists.
Really?
Just only with the gas engine. They just pulled the diesel, they left the gas in it. And I agree, I thought that was always such a smart move by Nissan. But you can just tell, right? They also thought, hey, we need to do something to set ourselves apart. And that was their play, and it just didn't work out. People didn't buy into the play.
But that's what happens when you come up with a strategy and you implement it, and then your management changes.
Yeah.
Okay? And then new guys come in and they go, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And we're like, no, this is how we're promoting the truck. And they're like, yeah, we got no money for that. Done. Finished. And by the way, all your commercial vehicles, finished.
Yeah,
done.
that's true too. NV's all gone too.
So I guess, obviously, they had to figure out where the money was going to go. It's sad. Now, only one thing I got to say, and then have at her. The 5.6 V8, decent engine.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Now, when you consider the fact that the Toyota 5.7 is gone, who knows how long the Hemi 5.7 is going to last? If you truly still want a V8, maybe now's the time to go out and buy a Nissan.
Yeah, that's fair. You might get a good price too, final year. And yeah, that was a solid powertrain. I like the 9-speed in that truck. Agreed. I never had any complaints about it. It was always a good truck. But I think I felt the same way that Nissan felt, which was that this truck has to do something more because it doesn't have a Ford badge on the hood, it doesn't have that hometown thing going on, so people just don't accept it. For some reason, we love small Japanese trucks, just not large Japanese trucks.
Well, that's
so
not
Nissan
really...
Nissan had an uphill battle, it felt like.
Yeah, but look at Tundra, okay?
Yeah.
The point is that Toyota has always backed that truck, all right? In other words, you can't just, do it for 2 or 3 years and then go, oh, this isn't working. Ask Toyota. It's an uphill battle. It's a long time that it takes for people to start accepting things. And today, of course, they build every time. They sell every Tundra they build.
Sure. Yeah, fair enough, and that's it. Nissan just wasn't committed for that long haul. And yes, we know that they're corporate wide. They're having issues, so they had to look to cut back somewhere, and Titan was that cutback. Now, Titan, I think, also has a bit of a legacy for introducing a bunch of first features. And you probably remember the original Titan. It had those storage bins on the side of the bed.
Yep.
It had the Utilitrack system, I believe it was called, which was in the bed floor. I don't know if it wasn't the first crew cab, but it was one of the bigger crew cabs at the time.
The original Titan was the first spray-in factory bedliner.
Oh, spray and factory bedliner.
Yeah, so
I
you know
remember
what?
that.
They did a few things that were, right up there. Right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what they always recognize. We got to do a little bit more. But yeah, so there you go. Titan is finally dead officially. It's always a sad day to lose another pickup truck. No news on Frontier. Frontier sells well, and the last update they did just enough to keep it fresh. So I'm sure Frontier will soldier on for hopefully ever, but a long time yet.
Yeah, well, that market, continues to pick up customers primarily because half tons are just getting so damn expensive. So a lot of guys are looking at the mid-sizers and going, you know what, this is enough.
Yeah,
And
expensive and big.
yeah, and big, yeah.
Expensive and big. All right, guys. So those were our two big news stories, really. But we have an email question we can get to right now. And I'll let you guys know if you ever want to reach out to us on email. It's hey, @truckking.ca. Send us an email if you got truck buying questions or truck questions in general.
Or if you just want to argue with us.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, people do that all the time. Or if you have, questions about anything mechanical on your vehicle, usually Matthew's here. We'll get him back next time. He's our resident mechanic, and he's always got good answers. And for one of these questions, I'm going to defer to Matt, so we'll have to wait. But anyways, our questions right now come from John. John sent us an email. John says, "Hi, Steve. I live in New York State." So John says, "My friend is looking at a full-size SUV. He has a budget of about $70,000 US. He needs 3 rows for his family, and he tows his boat most weekends weighing 6,300 pounds. He's going to put about 120 to 150,000 miles in the next decade on this SUV. So he's looking at either a GMC Yukon, a Ford Expedition, a Jeep Wagoneer, or a Toyota Sequoia." And then he also says, which has the best cargo room and the best value for your money. So first of all, I'll be straight up honest. I did not dig into the research on this one. But just reading that, I already have a pretty good answer, I think. Toyota Sequoia is already off the board because it's the worst storage cargo space of all of them, and it's the worst third row. I'm not a fan of the new Sequoia, basically in almost any way, especially the third row, though. They wrecked the third row in the Sequoia. So Sequoia's off the board. Next up, Jeep Wagoneer. I am a fan of the Wagoneer. It is expensive. There's just no two ways around it.
They've really optioned it up.
Yeah, and it's beautiful, right? Top luxury trim Wagoneer is nice. But at 70 grand, you're going to be getting a more basic Wagoneer. It's just not going to have the features. It would do the job.
Yep.
But in my eyes, I also get rid of the Wagoneer.
Yep.
Which then leaves us with Yukon or Ford Expedition. And between these two, I don't have a clear winner because I think they both suit you well. They both tow 6,800 pounds pretty reliably. GM frankly has more options with their full-size SUVs because you have GMC and Chevy wheelbase sizes, different engines. You can get the diesel, and I think we both agree that's an awesome 3-liter diesel. So maybe I lean a little towards the Yukon, but the Expedition is really good too.
The Yukon is also the most recent redesign. Expedition it's been a few years.
Yeah, that's fair as well. So yeah, Expedition's been lightly redesigned. But
Flatter floor, better third row,
that is true.
in my opinion.
Yeah. So maybe we have landed on the GM.
Yeah, I would go Yukon, and the thing with Yukon is that it's been around so long. You've really got a lot of different options and trim levels. You can really build the truck that you want. And, you can go down market, you can go up market. I think you should be able to get into something for 70 and it'd be all right.
Really nice. And then, quite frankly, I think this conversation just always lends itself to why General Motors owns that market. I think they're over 50% market share of large full-size SUVs, General Motors.
Between Yukon and Suburban,
yeah,
I think it's even more than that,
Tahoe,
like 75%.
Exactly. Escalade, right? They have so many of those big models.
Yeah.
So I do tend to defer a bit to GM when it comes to full-size SUVs.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's it, John. That's what we think.
Yep. And then, John, your second question, he says his neighbor down the street is looking at a Hyundai Santa Cruz, but he's worried about the long-term reliability of the dual-clutch transmission. So I actually asked Matthew about this. Matthew works at a Hyundai dealership, so it's perfect. And I am, sad to report that Matthew has seen some issues with the dual clutch. They've had some dual clutches come back, and the basics on it, and I won't pretend to totally understand how it works, but they're complicated. There's a lot that goes on in a dual clutch transmission. So there's some pressure sensors, I believe he says, that can go bad. I don't know. Any transmission can have an issue, but yes, there might be a little bit of extra complexity there that you might have to worry about.
He's not a fan, and there's a lot of things about the Santa Cruz I like, but when I drove it, one of the things I found really weird was that in gear, if you were making, say, like a 3-point turn,
Yeah.
okay, you go into reverse, you take your foot off the brake, it rolls forward.
Yeah, like
It
a
doesn't-
neutral, or
yeah,
like
it's-
a manual.
It's like a manual, and all of a sudden it just like lurches forward before it catches itself. It's a very awkward, strange kind of thing, and so that, along with what Matt said, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, there's our email questions. If you guys want to email us, I know I have one other question floating out there. It was a really in-depth question, and I didn't get the time to dig into it, so we'll get back to that one if you're out there watching. We got another question here, though. This one's specifically for you. This was dropped on the community section. So this fella, he says, any updates on Dad's new truck purchase to replace his 2500 Ram Cummins with a 3500? And then he also mentions, did Toyota say why the Land Cruiser is not coming with the third row? I'll quickly say the answer for the third row is, again, hybrid battery is back there. And frankly, for North America, we don't need a third row because they have a bunch of other vehicles with third rows.
Yeah, and if they put one in there, it's too damn small.
Yeah, that too. It's not a big back. But then the second one, I'll defer to Dad, and you could mention the Chevy we have right now.
Well, I'll tell you guys, just yesterday, we were out in Oshawa, Ontario, which is the big General Motors plant, which is building the Silverado 1500 as well as the heavy duties. So once we did the tour, they actually gave me a 2500 HD to drive home in so that I could hang on to it for a week or so. This, I think, is the direction I want to go anyway, but frankly, I was waiting to get a hold of this truck, mostly so that my wife could drive it and, give me her thumbs up or thumbs down, because as everybody knows, if Mama ain't happy, I ain't going to be happy. So she's more concerned about the livability of the truck. I'm already very interested in the fact that it's leaf spring versus coil spring that I have on my Ram. And we actually towed a trailer yesterday with the fifth wheel that we picked up not far away from a dealer I know at around 12,000 pounds. A little lighter than my trailer, but not by much. And it was really good. It was a good drive. And I'll get into it more because, of course, we did a video on this and it'll be up soon. So we'll talk about the new power numbers, the new transmission, yada, yada, yada. But as far as the stability issue that I experienced with my Ram and my trailer, I did not feel it. And this is a 2500. So now, granted, I still think I'm going to go with the 35 just for the hell of it. But my initial feeling is, yeah, this is the way to go. And I really, really feel that the leaf spring is what makes the difference.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right. It's something about that, you get that rhythm going. It's almost, it becomes like the vibration. Well, I don't know what the word
It's
I'm
like
looking
harmonic
for. Harmonic
distortion.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. The harmonic rhythm of it. It builds up with the coils rather than the leaves.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. So Dad's still shopping. I mean, I think you can kind of admit it after saying that. We're leaning General Motors.
I am leaning General Motors, and in a week or so, once Tracy, I'm going to talk her into it. And then I'll order the truck, and hopefully I'll have it by sometime late fall.
Yeah, but that's actually the exciting thing too. So we've had this 2500, we towed a different trailer, but next week Dad's going to hook up his travel trailer to this truck, once again, because we're just trying to eliminate some variables so we can decide sort of what was causing some of the issues with the Ram 2500 pulling that.
Yeah, and if it works good with the 25, then I know I'll be good with the 35. Because, I mean, they're basically the same truck except for the increase in the suspension capability.
Yeah, exactly. That's exciting, and we're going to document the whole process. So obviously you guys follow along on the channel and we'll take you through sort of, what it's like buying the truck, why they bought the truck, all that stuff. Heck, selling the Ram even, we can talk about, how much we got for that, because that'll be interesting too to see where the market's at when you get rid of the Ram.
Yeah, well, as soon as, I've put my money down on the new truck, I'll let everybody know, come buy my truck.
Yeah, that's for sale.
Why not?
We can have a live show auction.
Sure.
So yeah, there you go. There's our answer on Dad's truck. So make sure you guys keep it locked. Oh, and he mentioned it too. I'll just say it now. We got a tour of the Oshawa truck plant, and we shot a full video on that as well. So if you've ever been curious on how they build Silverados, if you're a Silverado owner and you want to watch how they built your truck, tune in. Probably next week that video will drop. And it was really cool in there. We got the chance to really get a good taste of a lot of different parts of the plant. Always the most impressive part of a truck plant or any body on frame plant is the marriage of the body to the frame. Because everything's put on the frame, tires and brakes and engine, that's all in. And then everything's put on the body, and then they come together with a massive robot. It's like watching a kid putting Lego together just on a huge scale.
It's phenomenal. The amount of robots in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. So, and we're thrilled. I mean, as Canadians, we're proud of the fact that we've got all this production out there in Oshawa. And for that matter, I mean, car plants in Ontario, I mean, we've only got like 7 of them. And, they're a big deal here. They're a big deal for our economy. And I like to always remind my fellow Canadians how, this is important for us. And for you Americans, we're thrilled to build them here and send them to you.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, so keep your eyes open for that. And right now, I'm just going to scroll back right up to the top of the comments, and we'll go through a couple of your guys' questions. So Ryan, right off the bat, got in with the very first question. Do you think the new Ford F-150 Lightning prices in Canada now make it a much better deal and maybe worth it? And let me say, first of all, this happened in Canada and the States. In the States, I think the most expensive model got $10,000 knocked off, and then the lower ones are like 6 or 7. In Canada, they lopped 15 grand off of the most expensive model, and then something more like 10 off the cheaper ones. But I'll also say that the truck is still about $10,000 more expensive than what they initially said.
Yeah.
So they initially said 40 grand in the States, and then it ballooned up to 60, and now it's come back to 50. So they're obviously having a heck of a time finding a sweet spot for the price, or this was just a strategy all along to be able to offer these cheaper prices. To get back to your question, though, does that make it worth it? Of course it does. Less money on that truck is going to make it more enticing. EVs are, quite frankly, still in a bit of a niche novelty world, and part of that is because they're so expensive. There really, truly are very few affordable EVs. So if we can get an F-150 Lightning at 40 grand, it definitely becomes a much easier sell and much more worth it.
Yeah. The thing that's weird that we have to kind of get to is if you consider what it takes to build an EV, okay? If you consider what you're not putting into one, a regular gasoline engine, has all kinds of systems that you don't have in an EV. Electric motors are infinitely simple compared to an internal combustion engine. All right, and then the cooling system, the exhaust system, the oil bath system, all the other things that go along with it. And it's for right from day one, it's made me crazy as to why EVs are more expensive. And regardless of the longevity of the battery, this is another thing. Electric motors last virtually forever. I don't know about you, but I got electric motors in my shop driving grinders and different
drills.
things that are 70 years old. Stuff that I got from my dad.
Yeah.
As long as the windings stay together, they just keep going. So I think what it is the companies are all trying to recoup their development costs right up front. It's not that EVs are expensive. They were expensive to develop.
Sure.
So right off the bat, like in the first, decade, they want all their money back.
Yeah.
And they're trying to convince us that EVs are super expensive. They're not. So I predict that the prices will continue to come down.
Yeah.
Particularly as competition ramps up, you know?
Now, granted, and this is what they tell us, again won't say I've dug into this. Apparently, lithium has become very expensive, and you can understand that because all of a sudden the demand for batteries has shot up, right? So
Yeah.
they always keep telling us that the battery tech is expensive, but same thing. You figure that's got to level out eventually as the supply cranks up to meet all this huge demand. So yeah, we need these trucks to become affordable. You know, it's great when it's it's a great truck, but at 120 grand like it is here in Canada, all the ones we've tested, it becomes a much harder sell, especially when you're the old story of sitting at the charger, you're just don't have the convenience of the gas truck, and yet you just paid as much or more for your EVs.
Exactly. So, is it good that they're cheaper now? I guess that's where we're going here. Yes. Have we seen the bottom? No.
No. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're on the fence, stay on the fence for a while.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So yeah, a couple other things. Chi-Town Built said, yeah, my Silverado was built in Canada. A lot of you guys probably know this, but I like throwing it out there. If you're ever wondering where your vehicle was built, the first digit of your VIN will tell you the country. 1 is the U.S., 2 is Canada, 3 is Mexico, and I know J is Japan. And then there's, Germany, France. I don't know all the other code, but I know
the actual plant code is in there as well. So it'll tell you whether it's Fort Wayne or Flint or Oshawa or wherever the heck else they are.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting. I'm not sure I even knew that. I just looked for the country.
No, there is a plant code in there.
When
too.
I got Big Green, my 1985 K10, I was hoping it was a Canadian truck because they were building those in Oshawa at the time as well.
Yeah.
But my truck also came from Flint. So yeah, it was a U.S. truck. Rocky just said Nissan Titan was a hidden gem, and so is the Nissan Armada. And yeah, I don't totally disagree. Titan just always felt like it was overlooked because of the other brands, but it was always a solid choice. And if you could get it at a good price, sure, I don't disagree with that.
I agree. Biggest thing was that Nissan stopped backing it. When's the last time you saw a Nissan Titan ad?
Yeah, that's true.
They just stopped.
Yeah. I also always suspected that the dealers just weren't ready to sell trucks. Selling a truck is not selling a car. It's not selling a Sentra or a Versa or a Pathfinder. And maybe I'm off base here, but I just thought maybe Nissan dealers weren't well equipped. Unlike a Ford dealer, when probably day one you learn how to sell an F-150, because that's what's going out the door. So I just feel like also, like you're saying, because they didn't back it and focus on it, they pushed it to the side, and then it was inevitable.
Well, I'm maybe telling tales out of school, but 5 years ago, I got a call from the marketing manager at Nissan Canada, and they said, "Can you come on in? We want to talk to you about putting together a program where you go from dealer to dealer and explain to our salesmen, A, what a truck is, B, how to sell a truck." Because they had no experience in their sales team. Frontier sold themselves. So there was really nothing to do there. But the Titan was a whole new ball game, and these guys needed to know stuff. And the marketing guy was pulling his hair out. He says, my sales managers are going, well, yeah, we don't know anything. And people are coming in and asking questions. And we're like, I don't know, there it is. It's blue. Now, that little program never came together, but the simple fact that they reached out to me because they realized that they were in such a hard place, whereas you go into a Ford dealership, I guarantee you've got guys in there who really know their stuff. It's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, fair enough. So that was it. And writing felt like it was on the wall for the poor Titan.
Yeah, too bad.
So what else? I think Ford is getting worried because their sales numbers for EV trucks are not good. Yeah, Lance, Ford at the beginning told us they couldn't build them fast enough, and then we've heard that they've actually been sitting for a while now, and so we're going to have to wait and see. There's always going to be an initial rush, right? So maybe that's over.
See, the weird thing is that you can sign up online. Was there any money that you had to put down?
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe $1,000.
I don't think it was that much, probably. But anyway, the point is lots of people could go online. You could sign up, and then you could cancel too. So,
sure.
I think you had a lot of that. You had just I'm going to get my name in there and then see what happens, right?
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, that's pretty much it for questions right now. If you guys got any more, drop them in there. I think we should talk about what we're doing and what we got coming up because, like usual, we're really busy, and we're actually super busy with power sports right now. If you
A lot
don't,
of power sports.
if you don't know it, we have a second channel, TK Power Sports, and yeah, we've got loads of stuff coming for them. I'm off next week to North Carolina to ride the new Yamaha Wolverine X2 1000. Dad is going to Wyoming for the new Polaris Ranger 1500 XD.
It's a friggin' dump truck.
Yeah, it's a whole new class of side-by-side, they're
huge.
calling it. Extreme duty,
Yep.
which is hilarious.
Yep.
And yeah, it tows 3,500 pounds. The thing
Yep.
is, it's a monster, so that'll be cool. And then the week after that, we're going with Chevy Canada to drive the Colorado, which we already have driven, but we still haven't driven the ZR2. The brand new ZR2 has eluded us to this point, so we're going to do a full day off-road in British Columbia with the ZR2. That should be fun.
That should be good. We're going to be down around the Soyuz, which of course has been burning lately. Should make it interesting. I told Steve that'd be awesome video, getting chased by a forest fire. But yeah, so we're looking forward to it. I mean, in a way, I'm happy because we talked to the Chevy folks. And of course, there's already been a program in the States. So I think they were feeling a little guilty. So they told us we're going to spend an entire day off pavement, which
Yeah.
is fine by me.
Awesome, and it's so fun to off-road in the mountains. Here in Ontario, we got great off-roading and some big hills, but no mountains.
We got a lot of mud.
Mountains, a different experience. Camille just says, my neck of the woods, we're in North Carolina, so I'm flying into Charlotte, and then we're going to Brushy Mountain Motorsports Park, which I'm sure you know where that is. I actually don't, but can't be that far from Charlotte.
Yep.
So yeah, that'll be cool. So yeah, lots of trips coming up, and then just here on the home front, we just had a pair of Yamaha Wave Runners that we reviewed. We just published a Polaris Ranger review today. We have a Yamaha RMAX 4. So yeah, loads of power sports stuff. The power sports stuff has been going crazy right now. So if you haven't already, go subscribe right now. We need all the help we can get to grow TK Power Sports. We want it to be as big as Truck King as soon as we can get it there.
Have a look. So, I mean, you got ATVs, you got watercraft, and as soon as we get them, snowmobiles.
Yeah, sleds when the winter comes back. No Yamahas, sadly, but
The only thing we don't do is dirt bikes, because quite honestly, guys our size on dirt bikes, you wreck your knees.
I've wanted to do a video. Well, the truth is I've never been on a dirt bike except once when I was 16, so I'm just too nervous about it too. But I thought that might be a fun video, is me trying to learn how to ride a dirt bike.
I've hurt myself lots on ATVs. I could only imagine on a dirt bike.
Yeah, no, you're totally correct. It's a different experience, much more physical, of course. So John, yeah, I just touched on it. He just said it though. What do you think of Yamaha leaving the snowmobile business? Yeah, I mean, what can you say besides it's sad? It's never a good thing when a brand goes away. And we have long history with Yamaha.
Yeah.
I was a Yamaha owner. I had a Venture Triple 600. Loved that sled. Super reliable. We've borrowed lots of Yamahas over the years.
Oh my goodness, we've done a lot of trips. They were the first ones really to come out with a decent four-stroke.
Yeah, the
RX-1.
RX-1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there when it was launched,
Yeah.
and you know, it was the first one that like didn't weigh 1,000 pounds, right? And it was awesome. And I mean, their triples are legendary. I'm sad to see Yamaha get out of the business. However, am I surprised? No. Snowmobile is just, it's expensive now. When I was a kid, man, you know, there was like 100 people building snowmobiles. But they were dirt cheap. They were crap.
Simple, yeah, nothing.
But they were simple, and you know, they were fun. You rode them for an hour, you fixed them for an hour. However, they were easy to get, and like I say, and they were cheap. And then as time went by, the sleds got better, they got more reliable, but they got more expensive and more expensive. And even if you live in a place like we do here, where we get a lot of snow, the snow is inconsistent. Particularly the last 5 years, it's been awful.
Yeah, it has not been good.
You just don't know how many days you're going to get in to ride. And then at the end of the season, you stop and you go, okay, I got out 4 days. And then you look at your investment and you're like, okay, this is not right. So it's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah, that's true. And I can't help but wonder what role COVID played in this whole thing, because sales were insane during COVID. Power sports companies couldn't build enough during COVID. And I wonder if that didn't actually give Yamaha a boost. And then maybe they made a bag of money and said, you know what, now's the time to pull out of this before we reinvest all this money and end up losing it again. Because you're right. I think the snowmobile market was going that way. Plus, after this huge boost, they might probably recognized, we're probably going to see a big lull now because people aren't going to be buying sleds. For the
No,
next
it's
couple of
absolutely
years.
true. I mean, COVID did some weird things. Of course, we also do some RV stuff. I've been in that business for a very long time. During COVID, RV sales went through the roof. I mean, like we're talking 30% jump in 1 year, and that's like a monstrous number. But it was the dead cat bounce. I mean, they got 1 year out of it. Everybody expected it to go hard into the second year. Second year dropped back to like a normal year, and this year they're down 40%.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing happened with ATV, same thing happened with snowmobiles. So yeah, if you're going to get out of it, now's the time to get out of it.
Yeah, I think that was exactly it. Leaving on a high, right? Get your bag of money and go home.
Yeah. So, Polaris, BRP, and I don't know, whatever's left of Arctic Cat.
Yeah, no, they're still out there. Yeah, exactly, though. Not a lot of choices.
Yep.
So I know Ken asked what happened to the 2024 Ranger. Tacoma wiped it out already. I mean, obviously we're still waiting for the Ranger, but it has gone quiet on that front. I don't know when we're going to drive it. I haven't heard yet. But I'm excited for the Ranger. My memory serves, and now it's been such a long time since I've sat in it, but the Ranger, I think the interior was a little nicer, and I think the back seat was bigger. So I think in that way it'll be better than Tacoma. But that'll be an exciting comparison when we can finally get a Ranger and a Tacoma, because they're both brand new this year. So.
Well, fast forwarding just a little bit, the Detroit Auto Show, as many of you know, moved to September from January last year. And so this year, I believe Media Day is September 13th. And I'm hearing whispers that, first of all, from Ford, we should see the new F-150. But they're also supposed to be revealing something else. I don't know. We might be also seeing some more Ranger stuff there.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. So, and really, I mean, Detroit is like, it's basically Stellantis, GM and Ford.
Yeah, the
Germans are all gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
Honda's
think
gone.
they're really trying to the home. They've said each of them are going to have 2 big reveals.
Yeah.
So 6 reveals, which is still pretty pathetic.
But literally,
However,
they're keeping it running. They've decided we'll keep this going.
well,
because
it has
they
to.
don't feel like they need it.
It's a hometown thing. It's Detroit, man. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been going since '99, my first Detroit. I've never missed a year, and I'm sad to see what's happening with Detroit these days.
Yeah, auto shows in general, right? Same with here in Toronto. Although we had amazing turnout this year, public turnout in Toronto, so that's
And again, that's
good thing.
I think that was a hangover because
From
it was canceled for 2 years.
Yeah, people couldn't go.
Right?
Yeah, you're probably right about that too.
So we'll see this year.
Yep. Yarmel says, "Can you do more racing?" And then Ron says, "Beat or stock cars like an old '90 Caprice." I mean, yeah, I could. I would love to do that, guys. Listen, if we could just crash each other, like have our own demo derbies and put that on YouTube, I think that would be what we do full time.
Yeah.
I just don't know if there's enough views in that to pay the bills.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I've really been considering because Steve's son Otis and Matthew's son Griffin both have the little plastic
cars, yeah.
razors, those things with the little battery, and both of them, they just get in them and they start yelling, "I'm going to crash," and then they run into the nearest thing. So I think we could film that and start a channel. Just my two grandsons crashing.
Crashing into each other. Yeah, everyone loves crashing. Oh man, so Dan asks, I know that the GMC and Chevy just revealed their midsize trucks, but have they given any indication for 2024? Do you think the trucks will go hybrid or electric? No indication, and no, I don't think so either. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it.
Yeah.
When you come out with your big truck, if you're going to make a big splash with the hybrid, maybe 3 years down the line, maybe like a mid-cycle refresh. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I didn't get the feeling that they were going to jump in with the hybrid or anything else.
Certainly not in the near future.
Especially with that truck, because the headline on that truck was simplification, was like less engine options, less cab choices. So I think they really wanted to streamline, and that's what they did with one engine option. So I think they're going to keep it that way.
The other overarching message from both GMC and Chevy is this let's make it a serious off-roader. Okay, they really want to push that, and I actually had guys at GMC telling me that they want to take on Tacoma TRD Pro.
Yeah.
They want to beat Tacoma TRD Pro. Well, have at her. So I think they're quite a few years away from worrying about hybrids or electric. They just want to get off-road and fling mud.
Yeah, fair enough. They got Silverado EV. That's enough EV for them.
Yep.
And then finally we get to Jerome. Are you guys still friends with TFL guys? Yes, we are, absolutely. We see them all the time.
We do.
We hung with Roman and Andre when we were in Hawaii for Tacoma. We just saw Tommy at that Land Cruiser event. And then if you guys saw, actually, I shot a video off-road with the Ineos Grenadier. I actually met up with Andre, and we helped each other out. I shot Andre's stand-ups, he shot mine. So luckily, we're still good friends, and they help us out. We help them out whenever we can. And
Yeah, you know what? They're good guys. They're professionals. When Steve went to Roman and said, hasta la vista, he was coming home, so to speak, and we were starting our own channel. He was very magnanimous.
Totally.
And he wished us the best. And they've been just anything, just decent all the way along. There's no animosities.
Yeah, no, not at all. So yeah, we see them all the time, and we still try. I always try to get in the background of their videos anytime I can. I think I was just in a Kawasaki Mule video in the background, and I started
Just
waving,
photo bombing?
totally photobombing, yeah, waving at Alex like a dummy. So there you go. Well, there you go, folks. That's looking like we're wrapped up pretty much for all the questions tonight. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, yeah, drop us a question in the email, and we'll do our best to dig into it. Drop a question on the community page or on a video. We're always watching. We try to get down here in the studio every other week, but it's been busy lately, and I just mentioned we're traveling a bunch, so this probably won't happen until early September, but we'll do our best to keep the live shows coming, because, it's fun to get down and actually get some interaction with you guys.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's it for this one. We appreciate it. Take care for now.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.